Welcome to our channel History of Coins, where we explore the hidden gems of numismatics. In today's video, we're diving into the fascinating world of rare quarter-dollar coins, cause some of these coins hold an incredible history, and some are worth millions. So today, we are gonna uncover the rarest varieties and their values. So make sure to watch the complete video and find out if you have one of these. Now let's continue our today's video. Top 1 today. We're going to travel back to one of the most exciting decades in American coin history, the year 1967, to uncover the secrets of the United States of America Washington quarter dollar. This coin, though it may look like any ordinary quarter from your change jar, holds a fascinating story of transition, mystery, and potential value that makes it a true collector's dream. So, get comfortable and listen closely, because you might just learn that a simple 1967 quarter could be worth much more than you ever imagined. The 1967 Washington quarter came at a very unusual time in U.S. coinage history. Just a few years earlier, in 1965, the U.S. Mint made a huge change. They stopped making quarters, dimes, and half dollars out of silver. Before that, quarters contained 90% silver, but due to rising silver prices, the government switched to a copper-nickel composition. This was a major turning point for American coins, and it makes every coin from that transition era incredibly interesting to collectors. The 1967 quarter is part of that story, a coin that represents change, survival, and hidden rarity. One thing that sets the 1967 quarter apart is that it has no mint mark. Normally, U.S. coins show where they were made: P for Philadelphia, D for Denver, and S for San Francisco. But during the years 1965 through 1967, the Mint deliberately removed mint marks from coins. Why? To discourage people from hoarding coins during the nationwide coin shortage of the 1960s. That decision makes identifying where a 1967 quarter was struck impossible, adding a layer of mystery that fascinates collectors even today. Now, let's talk about the design. On the front side of the coin, we see the familiar portrait of George Washington, designed by John Flanagan. His strong and calm profile has been a symbol of American heritage since the quarter's first appearance in 1932. The word liberty crowns the top, with the national motto, "In God We Trust," beside his neck, and the date, 1967, resting at the bottom. Flip the coin over, and you're greeted by a majestic eagle perched proudly on a bundle of arrows with olive branches beneath, symbols of both strength and peace. It's simple, classic, and powerful, a design that has stood the test of time. While the 1967 quarter may not contain silver, its value doesn't just come from metal. It comes from condition, rarity, and minting errors. And this is where the real treasure hunt begins. During the mid-1960s, the Mint was under immense pressure to produce billions of coins quickly. That rush led to a number of fascinating minting mistakes, each one unique. Each one potentially valuable. One of the most well-known and sought-after varieties is the double die obverse error, where parts of the lettering or Washington's face appear slightly doubled. This happens when the coin die accidentally imprints a doubled image during production. Under magnification, you might see a ghostly second outline on "In God We Trust," or around Washington's eyes and mouth. Collectors go wild for this kind of doubling because it's rare, visible, and tells a story about the coin's creation. Another rare type is the off-center strike. This happens when the blank coin isn't perfectly centered in the press, so the design is printed off to one side, leaving part of the coin blank. Depending on how far off the strike is, these coins can range from mildly interesting to extremely valuable, especially if the date is still fully visible. Then there's the clipped planchet error, where part of the coin is missing a small crescent-shaped section due to a mistake when cutting the metal blanks. These coins are easy to recognize and highly collectible. Some 1967 quarters even show signs of die breaks or cuts, where cracks in the die leave raised blobs of metal on the coin's surface. Unique fingerprints of the minting process. Collectors also prize coins in exceptionally high grades. Because most 1967 quarters were heavily circulated, finding one in pristine, uncirculated condition is rare. If a coin has been preserved perfectly, showing no scratches, wear, or handling marks, it can earn a high grade from professional grading services like PCGS or NGC. Coins graded MS-67 or MS-68 are particularly sought after, and when combined with an error, their value can skyrocket. But there's another layer to this coin's allure: the mysterious 1967 Special Mint Set, SMS, quarters. Since no proof coins were made for circulation that year, the Mint produced limited SMS coins with a satin-like finish, available only in special collector sets. These coins have a smoother surface and sharper details compared to regular circulation quarters. Finding one in perfect condition, especially with a known error, is like striking gold in the world of numismatics. What makes this coin even more fascinating is its connection to history. The late 1960s were a time of great change in America, socially, politically, and even economically, and coins like the 1967 quarter capture that spirit. They're everyday objects that became silent witnesses to a changing nation. And for collectors, owning one feels like holding a small piece of that transformation in your hand. So, why are some 1967 quarters worth so much money today? The answer lies in a combination of factors: rarity, error types, and perfect preservation. A coin with an unusual minting flaw, or one that has survived more than 50 years without a single scratch, can attract massive attention from serious collectors. The beauty of it all is that these coins are still out there, hidden in old collections, tucked away in drawers, or sitting unnoticed in boxes of spare change. Just imagine finding one of these rare quarters in a jar of coins at home or at a garage sale. It's moments like those that make coin collecting so thrilling, turning an ordinary object into something truly extraordinary. And now, the moment every collector waits for: the value reveal. Among the rarest examples of the 1967 Washington quarter, featuring exceptional preservation and striking minting errors, one has been known to reach an astonishing price of $81,000. Yes, you heard that right. $81,000 for a single Washington quarter from 1967. It's hard to believe that a small piece of metal once worth 25 cents could be worth more than a luxury car today. But that's the magic of numismatics: history, rarity, and discovery coming together to create real value. So next time you come across an old 1967 quarter, don't overlook it. Take a closer look at its details. You never know if you might be holding one of those extraordinary coins that could change your collection or even your life. Top 2, we're diving deep into one of the most talked about coins from the late 1960s, the United States of America Washington quarter dollar from 1969. This small silver-colored coin has an incredible story behind it, and for some lucky collectors, it has even turned out to be a life-changing find. So grab your magnifying glass, sit back, and listen closely, because this 1969 quarter may just be one of the most surprising and valuable coins you'll ever learn about. Let's start with a little history. The year 1969 was a remarkable period in American life. The nation was buzzing with progress, from the Apollo moon landing to cultural revolutions that shaped a new generation. And while people were dreaming big, the U.S. Mint was busy producing coins that reflected stability and trust in a fast-changing era. The Washington quarter, first introduced in 1932, was still proudly carrying the image of America's first president, George Washington, as a symbol of strength and unity. But there's something about the 1969 Washington quarter that makes it stand out from millions of ordinary coins produced that year. To the untrained eye, it may look just like any other 25-cent piece: a familiar face of Washington on the obverse and the majestic eagle on the reverse. Yet beneath that simple design lies a world of rarity, mystery, and immense collector value that has captivated numismatists for decades. On the obverse side, George Washington's portrait, designed by John Flanagan, stands as a timeless representation of American tradition. You'll see the inscriptions "Liberty," "In God We Trust," and the date, 1969, below. Flip the coin over, and you're greeted by an eagle with wings spread proudly, perched on a bundle of arrows, surrounded by olive branches. A perfect balance of power and peace. It's elegant, it's historic, and it's instantly recognizable. But as every collector knows, the real story often hides in the smallest details. By 1969, the U.S. Mint was still using the copper-nickel composition introduced just a few years earlier. The earlier 90% silver quarters had been discontinued after 1964, which means that every quarter from 1965 onward was made without silver, at least in theory. But here's where things get interesting. A few 1969 quarters have surfaced that appear to have been mistakenly struck on leftover silver planchets, those thin blank discs used before the composition change. If genuine, these rare transitional errors can be worth a fortune. Imagine holding in your hand a 1969 quarter with the shine, tone, and sound of silver, an accidental relic of America's coinage transformation. Another feature that adds intrigue is the mint mark. The 1969 quarter was struck at 3 locations: Philadelphia, no mint mark; Denver, D; and San Francisco, S. Among these, the S mint mark proof coins are particularly desirable, especially those with unusual strikes, mirror-like finishes, or unexpected die varieties. Proof coins were never meant for circulation, but a few escaped into the wild, and those are highly prized by collectors today. Now, let's talk about errors, the magical accidents that make certain coins truly one of a kind. During the mass production of quarters in 1969, several minting mistakes occurred that turned ordinary coins into extraordinary finds. One of the most famous is the double die obverse error, where parts of the design, especially the words "Liberty" and "In God We Trust," appear doubled. This happens when the coin die is struck twice, slightly out of alignment, creating a shadowed effect that's easily visible under magnification. These coins are incredibly rare, and when found in mint condition, their value can skyrocket. Another valuable error is the off-center strike. If the coin blank wasn't perfectly positioned during striking, part of the design would end up missing or misaligned. The greater the off-center percentage, the rarer and more valuable the coin becomes, especially if the date remains visible. There are also clipped planchet errors, where a small crescent-shaped piece of the coin is missing due to a cutting mishap during production. Each of these errors tells its own story, a little snapshot of imperfection in the precise world of minting. And then, there's the matter of condition. Most 1969 quarters were heavily circulated, spending decades passing from pocket to pocket, vending machine to cash register. Finding one in flawless, uncirculated condition is a true challenge. Coins that have been perfectly preserved, showing no scratches or signs of wear, are graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC at high mint state levels such as MS66, MS67, or higher. The higher the grade, the more dramatic the price jump. A 1969 quarter in pristine condition with a notable minting error could easily command attention from serious collectors and auction houses. Collectors also love the 1969 quarter because it represents a turning point in the Washington series. It bridges the classic Silver Age with the modern era of coinage. For numismatists, it's not just a coin. It's a story in metal, a relic from a decade of change, innovation, and historical significance. Imagine the thrill of rummaging through your old coin jar or a family collection and spotting a 1969 quarter with an unusual shine, a slight doubling, or an off-center strike. What seems like a regular 25-cent coin could actually be a hidden treasure worth thousands. That's what makes the hunt so exciting. The idea that valuable history might be sitting right in your hands, waiting to be discovered. Even coin dealers and grading experts still come across surprising examples of the 1969 quarter. Coins that defy expectations, featuring rare varieties or untouched finishes. For those lucky enough to own one, the combination of rarity, historical timing, and minting error creates something priceless. A masterpiece born from an accidental twist of fate. And now, the moment you've been waiting for, the value reveal. Among the most extraordinary examples of the 1969 Washington quarter, featuring exceptional minting precision, near-perfect preservation, and dramatic errors, one has reached a breathtaking auction price of $79,000. Yes, you heard that right. $79,000 for a single Washington quarter from 1969. A small, simple piece of metal that once bought a piece of candy can now buy a car, or even a down payment on a home. That's the incredible world of coin collecting, where history, luck, and passion combine to create true treasures. So, before you spend that next quarter in a vending machine, take a second look. Check the date, examine the details, and who knows, you might be holding one of the rarest quarters ever made. Top 3, we're stepping into the mid-1970s to explore a coin that might look completely ordinary, but don't let appearances fool you. We're talking about the United States of America Washington quarter dollar from 1974. You've probably seen this coin countless times, maybe even have a few lying around. But what if I told you that some special versions of this very coin could be worth tens of thousands of dollars? Stick around, because this story is full of surprises, minting mysteries, and the kind of details every collector dreams about discovering. Let's begin with the year itself, 1974. America was in a period of transition. The Vietnam War had ended, the Watergate scandal was shaking the nation, and the economy was adjusting to inflation and rising metal costs. Through it all, one constant remained: the Washington quarter, the proud symbol of trust and stability in U.S. coinage. Since its introduction in 1932, this coin had carried the image of George Washington, serving as a reminder of the nation's enduring values. Now, on the surface, the 1974 Washington quarter might not seem all that special. It features the same iconic design that Americans had known for decades. On the obverse side, we see the bold profile of George Washington, sculpted by John Flanagan, with the word liberty proudly displayed above and the national motto, "In God We Trust," by his neck. Beneath his chin lies the date, 1974. Flip it over, and you'll see the familiar reverse, a strong, detailed eagle with its wings spread wide, perched on a bundle of arrows, surrounded by olive branches. It's patriotic, elegant, and timeless, but the beauty of coin collecting lies in the details, and the 1974 quarter hides some remarkable ones. Most quarters from this year were minted in either Philadelphia, no mint mark, Denver, D, or San Francisco, S. The coins from Philadelphia and Denver were intended for circulation, while those with the S mint mark were proofs, specially made for collectors. But within these coins, a few extraordinary examples stand out for their striking errors and minting quirks that make them exceptionally valuable today. You see, 1974 was right before one of the biggest changes in U.S. coin history: the introduction of the bicentennial design in 1975 and 1976. During this transitional period, the mint was producing enormous quantities of coins to meet national demand, and with such high-speed production came small mistakes. And in the world of numismatics, those mistakes can turn a common coin into a rare treasure point. One of the most famous types of valuable 1974 quarters is the double die obverse. This fascinating error occurs when the coin die accidentally imprints the design twice, but slightly misaligned. If you look closely under magnification, you may see doubling in the words "Liberty," "In God We Trust," or even around Washington's facial features. These doubled letters and numbers give the coin a shadowed look, and collectors absolutely love this because it makes the coin completely unique. Another striking and rare variety is the off-center strike. This happens when the blank planchet, the metal disc that becomes the coin, is not perfectly centered during the striking process. The result is a coin where part of the design is missing or appears off to one side, creating a crescent of blank space. The more off-center the strike, the rarer and more valuable the coin becomes, especially if the date is still clearly visible. Then there's the clipped planchet error, where a small curved piece is missing from the coin's edge due to a cutting mishap when the metal sheets were being prepared. These errors are immediately recognizable and make each affected coin one of a kind. Another error type that fascinates collectors is the die crack or cud error, where cracks form in the coin die, causing raised blobs or lines on the finished coin. These flaws tell a story of how the mint's machinery struggled under immense production pressure during that era. But wait, there's another fascinating aspect to some 1974 quarters that pushes their value even higher. A handful of these coins were mistakenly struck on planchets intended for other denominations. For instance, a 1974 quarter struck on a dime or nickel planchet. These odd-weight and odd-size quarters are among the rarest of all mint errors, and when authenticated, they can bring huge prices at auction. Condition also plays a massive role in determining a coin's value. Most quarters from 1974 were circulated heavily, so finding one in pristine, uncirculated condition is rare. Coins that have never been handled, showing full mint luster and sharp details, are graded highly by professional services like PCGS or NGC. An MS-67 or MS-68 grade can take a coin from being worth pocket change to being worth thousands of dollars. And when combined with a unique minting error, the value climbs even higher. There's also something fascinating about the San Francisco S mint-proof coins from 1974. These were struck with polished dies and specially prepared planchets, giving them a mirror-like surface and crisp details. A flawless proof coin with a cameo finish, meaning frosted designs and mirror backgrounds, is highly collectible, especially if it has any unusual traits or anomalies. The appeal of the 1974 Washington quarter goes beyond its physical form. It's a coin that captures a moment in American history, a time of uncertainty, resilience, and change. It stands as a symbol of the nation's ability to adapt, to keep moving forward even in challenging times. That's what makes collecting coins like this so meaningful. You're not just holding metal, you're holding a tangible piece of history. So, what makes certain 1974 quarters so rare and valuable today? It's a perfect storm of factors: minting errors, flawless condition, and a dash of historical intrigue. When these elements come together, they create coins that collectors are willing to pay astonishing amounts of money for. And the best part is, these coins are still out there, hidden in old coin jars, tucked into drawers, or sitting unnoticed in change collections. Just imagine finding a 1974 quarter with a double die error or an off-center strike. That ordinary-looking piece of metal could actually be a small fortune waiting to be discovered. That's the thrill of coin collecting. The idea that something extraordinary could be hiding in plain sight. And now, the moment every collector has been waiting for, the value reveal. Among the rarest and most exceptional examples of the 1974 Washington quarter, featuring perfect preservation and striking minting errors, one has been valued at an incredible $77,000. Yes, you heard that right, $77,000 for a single quarter. It's truly amazing how something so small, once worth just 25 cents, can hold such immense value. That's the beauty of numismatics, a blend of history, art, and mystery that turns an everyday object into a priceless treasure. So next time you come across a 1974 quarter, don't rush to spend it. Examine it carefully. Check the details, the strike, and the surface. You never know, that little coin might just be the next hidden gem worth tens of thousands of dollars. Top 4, we're diving into one of the most fascinating quarters from the modern era, the United States of America Washington quarter dollar from 1981. At first glance, this coin might look just like the ones you use every day, but believe me, some of these 1981 quarters have secrets hidden in their metal, secrets that make them worth far more than just 25 cents. So, sit back, listen carefully, and get ready to discover the details, errors, and mysteries that make this coin so desirable to collectors all around the world. Let's start by setting the scene. The year was 1981. America was entering a new decade full of technological progress and cultural change. Ronald Reagan had just taken office as president. The economy was shifting, and the U.S. Mint was keeping busy producing millions of coins for circulation. Among them was the Washington quarter, a design that had already become a national icon. Since 1932, this coin had carried the face of George Washington, symbolizing the nation's history, pride, and unity. But even after decades of production, small details and rare minting errors continued to make certain years, like 1981, stand out in surprising ways. That on the obverse side of the coin, you'll see that familiar portrait of George Washington, designed by the talented sculptor John Flanagan. His proud profile faces left, framed by the word liberty above and the national motto, "In God We Trust," beside him. Beneath Washington's neck is the date, 1981, the mark of a year that produced some of the most interesting and collectible quarters of the modern series. On the reverse side, the design continues to impress. A bold eagle with its wings spread wide, perched on a bundle of arrows and surrounded by olive branches, representing both strength and peace. While the design may have remained the same for decades, not all 1981 quarters were created equal. These coins were minted in 3 locations: Philadelphia, no mint mark; Denver, D, and San Francisco, S. The San Francisco Mint produced proof coins, mirror-like examples made specifically for collectors, while the others were struck for circulation. But it's within these ordinary-looking coins that we find the extraordinary. Certain examples from 1981 possess unique errors, striking variations, or remarkable condition that make them worth thousands of dollars today. One of the key reasons some 1981 quarters are so valuable is because of their minting errors, the small imperfections that occurred when the U.S. Mint's machinery was running at lightning speed to keep up with demand. One of the most sought-after varieties is the double die obverse error. If you look closely at the lettering, particularly around Liberty or In God We Trust, you might see a faint doubling effect, as if the letters were stamped twice. This happens when the die used to strike the coin shifts slightly during production, creating that mesmerizing doubled image. Collectors adore this type of error because it's easy to see, completely accidental, and makes every coin with it a one-of-a-kind piece. Another fascinating and valuable error from the 1981 quarter is the off-center strike. This occurs when the blank planchet, the round piece of metal that becomes the coin, isn't properly aligned in the press. The result is a coin where part of the design is missing or struck to one side, leaving a blank crescent-shaped area. Depending on how far off-center the strike is, the value can climb dramatically, especially if the date is still fully visible. Then there's the clipped planchet error, where a portion of the coin's edge is missing due to a cutting mistake when the blanks were being prepared. These coins look like they have a small bite taken out of them, and because each one is unique, collectors pay big money for well-preserved examples. You might also encounter the die crack or cud error, where breaks in the minting die cause raised lines or blobs of metal to appear on the coin's surface. These give the coin a rugged, almost handmade look, and they tell the story of the incredible pressure the mint's equipment was under at the time. Another factor that makes 1981 quarters desirable is their condition. Most of these coins circulated heavily, meaning they were used for years, exchanged in stores, handled countless times, and often worn down. Finding one in flawless, uncirculated condition, known as mint state, is extremely rare. Professional grading services like PCGS or NGC can evaluate these coins, and when a 1981 quarter is graded at MS67 or higher, its value increases significantly. A shiny, perfectly preserved quarter with sharp details and no scratches can fetch a price that will amaze you. The 1981 S-proof quarters are also highly collectible, especially those with deep cameo contrast, meaning the design looks frosted while the background gleams like a mirror. A perfect proof coin with a high grade and stunning appearance can capture the attention of serious collectors and fetch high prices at auction. Now, here's something even more fascinating. A few 1981 quarters were accidentally struck on the wrong metal planchets, such as nickel or even foreign coin blanks. These transitional or off-metal errors are incredibly scarce. Imagine finding a quarter that weighs slightly less or more than usual, or that has an unusual color or sound. You might be holding one of these rare minting accidents. Collectors are drawn to coins like the 1981 quarter not just for their potential value, but for the history they represent. The early 1980s were a pivotal time in American minting. Technology was improving, but the process still left room for human error and mechanical surprises. Each flawed or unusual coin from that era is like a tiny time capsule, carrying the story of how precision met imperfection in the mint's production lines. For anyone who loves coin collecting, the thrill is in the hunt. Every time you check your pocket change, there's a possibility of discovering something extraordinary. The 1981 Washington quarter is a perfect example, a coin that hides incredible potential behind a familiar face. Whether it's a double die, an off-center strike, or a pristine uncirculated example, the value can be staggering. Imagine searching through an old collection, flipping through a pile of quarters, and suddenly noticing one that looks just a little different. The lettering seems thicker, the strike seems off, or the shine catches your eye. You take a closer look, and there it is, a rare error coin, sitting quietly in your hand. That's what makes this hobby so exciting. The idea that something so small can hold such big surprises. And now, it's time for the most exciting part of all, the value reveal. Among the rarest and most exceptional 1981 Washington quarters, featuring extraordinary minting errors, flawless preservation, and remarkable historical appeal, one has been valued at an astonishing $74,000. Yes, you heard that correctly. $74,000 for a single quarter from 1981. It's truly amazing to think that a coin you could once find in your pocket change could be worth that much today. That's the power of rarity, history, and collector passion coming together. So before you spend that next quarter, take a moment to look closely. Check the details, inspect the lettering, and pay attention to the edges. You might just be holding one of the most valuable coins of the modern era. Top 5, we're diving into one of the most fascinating coins of the 1980s, the United States of America Washington quarter dollar from 1985. It's a coin that millions of people used for everyday purchases, from candy to coffee, yet a few special pieces from this year have become legendary among collectors. Believe it or not, some 1985 quarters are hiding secrets that could turn your pocket change into a small fortune. So stay with me, listen carefully, and enjoy this fascinating journey through one of America's most intriguing coins. Let's go back to the mid-1980s, a decade full of neon lights, pop music, and technological innovation. In 1985, the U.S. Mint was producing coins by the millions to keep up with America's booming economy. But even with advanced machinery, perfection wasn't always guaranteed. A few extraordinary 1985 quarters came off the presses with errors so rare that they would later capture the attention of collectors and coin experts worldwide. The Washington quarter had already become an American icon by that time. Designed by sculptor John Flanagan, this coin features a proud portrait of George Washington on the front, the nation's first president and a symbol of freedom and leadership. Above his head sits the word liberty, and to the left, the motto, "In God We Trust." Below, of course, is the date, 1985, marking the year of minting. On the reverse side, we find the majestic bald eagle, wings spread, arrows clutched tightly in its talons, olive branches resting below, representing the country's balance between power and peace. It's a classic design that stood strong from 1932 to 1998, long before the introduction of the State Quarters series. But while most people see a familiar design, collectors see opportunity, and in the case of the 1985 quarter, that opportunity can be worth thousands. The 1985 Washington quarters were struck at 3 different mints: Philadelphia, no mint mark; Denver, D, and San Francisco, S. The San Francisco Mint produced proof coins, specially made for collectors with mirror-like finishes. But the real treasures are often found among the ordinary-looking coins from Philadelphia and Denver, where small minting errors turn normal quarters into priceless collectibles. One of the most talked-about errors in the 1985 quarter is the double die obverse, an incredible minting mistake that occurs when the die used to strike the coin shifts slightly during production, creating a doubled image. You can often spot this around the words "Liberty" or "In God We Trust." The letters appear thicker, or you may see faint shadows around them. These coins are instantly recognizable and extremely valuable to collectors. Another fascinating error is the off-center strike. This happens when the coin blank, known as a planchet, isn't properly centered when struck. The result is a quarter where part of the design is missing or off balance, sometimes just a little, sometimes dramatically. The more off-center it is, the rarer it becomes, especially if the date remains fully visible. Collectors love these coins because each one is completely unique, almost like a fingerprint of the minting process. Then there's the clipped planchet error, a beautiful imperfection where a small piece of the coin's edge is missing due to a cutting mistake before the coin was struck. These coins look like they have a bite taken out of them, and the most valuable examples are those where the missing portion doesn't affect the main design. There are also examples of 1985 quarters struck on the wrong metal planchets. For example, being struck on a dime planchet or on a foreign coin blank by accident. These off-metal errors are exceptionally rare and can fetch huge sums at auction. Imagine a quarter that's slightly smaller, lighter, or even a different color. That's a sign you might be holding one of these incredible minting mistakes. Die cracks and die chips also appear in some 1985 quarters, creating raised lines or extra blobs of metal on the surface. These may look like flaws, but to collectors, they're fascinating clues to how the coin was made. Each one tells a story about the stresses of minting and the conditions inside the U.S. Mint that year. But errors aren't the only thing that gives a 1985 quarter its value. Condition plays a massive role, too. Most quarters from this year have been heavily circulated, used in everyday transactions, tossed in jars, and passed from hand to hand for decades. Finding one in mint state condition, meaning it still looks brand new with no scratches or wear, is extremely rare. Grading companies like PCGS and NGC rate coins based on their condition, and a 1985 quarter in MS67 or higher can be worth a surprising amount. Proof coins from the San Francisco Mint, especially those with deep cameo contrast, where the design appears frosted against a mirror-like background, are also highly sought after by collectors. Now, let's talk about the human side of collecting, the excitement and passion that drive people to search for these treasures. Imagine flipping through your spare change and suddenly spotting something unusual. Maybe the letters on your quarter look slightly doubled, or the design seems off-center. You take a closer look, your heart starts racing, and you realize you might be holding a rare 1985 Washington quarter. That's the magic of coin collecting. That thrilling possibility that the next coin you examine could change your life. The Washington quarter represents more than money. It's a piece of American history. By 1985, this coin had already been in production for over half a century, serving as a daily reminder of the country's founding ideals. Every quarter tells a story, not just of George Washington's legacy, but of the precision, craftsmanship, and sometimes the imperfections of the U.S. Mint. What makes the 1985 quarter especially interesting is that it bridges the gap between old and new, a time when the minting process was modernizing but still prone to rare, unpredictable errors. That combination of technology and imperfection gives these coins their charm and their value. Collectors from around the world compete to find the rarest examples of this coin. Auction records show that certain high-grade or error 1985 quarters have fetched eye-popping prices. Whether you're an experienced numismatist or just starting out, the 1985 Washington quarter reminds us all that treasures can still be found in the most ordinary places, maybe even in your pocket.so. Before you spend that quarter in a vending machine or hand it over at the grocery store, take a second look. Check the date, inspect the edges, and look closely at the lettering. Who knows? You might be holding one of the rarest and most valuable quarters ever produced from the 1980s. And now, here's the part you've been waiting for: the incredible value. Among the rarest and most exceptional examples of the 1985 Washington quarter, featuring extraordinary minting errors, flawless preservation, and pristine detail, one such coin has been valued at an astonishing $72,000. Yes, $72,000 for a single 1985 quarter. Imagine finding one like that in your change. That's the kind of story collectors dream about. So, my friends, keep your eyes open and your magnifying glass ready. The next coin you pick up could be your ticket to a small fortune. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss another hidden treasure from the world of rare coins. Thank you for watching, and as always, happy collecting, and may your next coin be your lucky one.